In a time of war between the southern and the northern continents, a young high school student of Southern Territory, Akyuki lives peacefully with his mother. One day, he gets late for school and leaves the house in a rush in order to catch the bus on time. Akyuki is already late, but he has to drop his father's lunch at his clinic. He takes the possible shortcuts, drops his father's lunch at his clinic, and finally catches the bus on time, much to his friend Furuichi's dismay, because he loses the bet on Akyuki's delay to their friend Haru. While standing in the line for the bus, Akyuki notices a strange student Nazuna struggling to get on the bus because of not having an armband. He drops his armband and enters the bus. The bus takes students to the southern continent's free zone on Staten Island. Suddenly, South Army comes to know about the unidentified new models from the northern government approaching Staten Island. When the bus reaches the school, Nazuna, a northern spy, conducts a self-suicidal blast. Because of the blast, green objects float and emit rays that touch Akyuki's hand and bring changes to it. When Akyuki, Furuichi, and Haru witness Nazuna in bad condition on the bus, they understand that Nazuna is one of the northern spies. However, Akyuki does not bother it and goes to help her. As soon as Akyuki approaches Nazuna and tries to help her, she touches Akyuki's head, ultimately turning him into a strange creature named Examed. To look for Akyuki, Haru rushes to the bus and remains stunned to see Examed there instead of Akyuki. One of the soldiers arrived at the bus to catch Nazuna also remains astonished to see Examed, and without knowing he is Akyuki, shoots at him. Meantime, a giant advanced northern weapon falls on Staten Island. A human-form weapon comes out of the northern weapon and begins spreading havoc everywhere. Akyuki, as Examed, immediately recovers from the bullet attack and gets up to connect to Haru and inform her about his real identity. However, without even seeing Akyuki converting into Examed, Haru has already sensed that Examed is Akyuki. At the time, human form with its lasers chaotically attack everything coming in its way. Human form then comes to attack Examed. It manages to hold human form and climbs on it, not only to save himself but also to stop it from destroying the island. Examed ends up jumping off the human form into the creek, where he faces human form in a 1-to-1 battle. Human form summons its green laser and attacks Examed with full potential, but Examed safeguards the attack with his hand-built shield. Examed then rushes towards the human form and gathers the energy to smash human form, but still human form restrains the attack and survives. Human form and Examed keep on engaging in combat, with Examed struggling to defeat human form, but human form stands above Examed. Meantime, Haru also reaches the site and tries to stop Akyuki as Examed from fighting the human form alone, but in the struggle, she falls from the water pipe for Examed to save her at the end. Carrying Haru, Examed rushes towards human form and molds his hand into a blade to cut human form's hand. To deliver his final attack and end human form's game, Examed runs again towards human form and punches it multiple times to ultimately convert human form into a stone. While Examed is still punching human form, a strange woman, Nakayami, jumps off of her plane and inserts a needle in Examed's hand. The needle begins converting Examed into a stone. Stone keeps devouring Examed, but to save himself, Nakayami gives him two options, whether to come with her or die. Examed, more appropriately, Akyuki speaks up and wishes to live. After having a positive response, Nakayami breaks the stone and presses the red stone on Examed's forehead to convert it into blue and transfer Akyuki into his human form. However, Akyuki's one hand does not change and retains Examed form. Nakayami then takes Akyuki with her, leaving Haru exhausted and falling unconscious. Nakayami brings Akyuki to her international postal airship Zanbani, where she treats Akyuki in her quarter. In order to stop Akyuki converting into Examed again, she binds the Hiruko in his hand with a pin. On Staten Island, the human form is destroyed, but its prior appearance has destroyed the island. After the fallout of the free zone of Staten Island, the injured are treated, but Akyuki's disappearance makes his friends and parents moan about him. Elsewhere, in Staten Island's research lab, it comes out that an old scientist Kamba and a military officer Kakasu are involved in illegal research on a secret object, which in reality is a giant Examed. At Zanbani's ship, Akyuki regains consciousness and has no memory of him fighting human form as Examed. Nakayami informs him about the needle inserted in his hand to inhibit Examed awareness. She also instructs him not to bring the needle out, but Akyuki seems frustrated by Nakayami's instructions. After that, Nakayami leaves Akyuki with a planned crew member, Akushiba, and goes to meet Zanbani's hot-headed captain, Ishu. In the meantime, Akyuki meets other crew members and learns he has to remain on the ship from now on to undergo half-year training to attain Examed form, much to Akyuki's dismay because he wants to go back to his friends and family. When Akyuki shows his wish to go back to his home, and Akushiba suggests him visit Captain in this matter. In Captain's room, Nakayami is present to answer her act of saving Akyuki even after Ishu stopped her. Nakayami explains to Ishu that she saved Akyuki because he was zammed. Ishu wants Nakayami to stop worrying about Zam because no matter how many men transform into Zam she saves, the boy will always end up converting into a stone. However, Ishu's words dishearten Nakayami because she has had some connection with Zam ever since, the cause of some unknown reasons. Akyuki, after meeting other crew members on the way, also reaches Captain's room. He shows his desire to go back to his home, but Akyuki's words piss off Ishu and she hits Akyuki. In a rage, Akyuki tears the pin thread holding Zam's appearance. In a flash, after tearing the pin thread, Akyuki's hand changes into Zam form, leaving Akyuki in shock. Just when this is happening, Ishu learns that one of the northern ships leaves the war zone and is coming close to them. The northern ship releases a flying human form that attacks Zanbani and catches Akyuki to absorb him in its body. Nakayami does not hold seeing Akyuki dying and immediately sets off in her plan to save him. Initially, Nakayami tries to convert human form into a stone, but the human form summons its green laser and attacks it. Nakayami prevents the attack and flies over human form to come close to it. She then jumps over the human form and inserts the pin to retrieve Akyuki. Nakayami finally saves Akyuki and takes him back to Zanbani. Ishu takes aim at human form and kills it. After being saved by Nakayami twice, Akyuki calms his nerves and thanks Nakayami for help. Back at Senten Island, Haru meets Akyuki's mother and assures her that Akyuki is alive and that she will surely find him. On Zanbani at night, Akushiba informs Akyuki that before him a person named Regyo was scammed. The following day, Nakayami informs Akyuki that they have to visit Tenshin-sama, another crew member, for his exam training. Akyuki, who has already bowed his head to his fate, agrees to go for exam training. Nakayami takes Akyuki down to the basement, where they meet an old lady named Tenshin. Tenshin inquires Akyuki about the purpose of Sam, but Akyuki remains unknown. After knowing that Akyuki does not know what Sam wants, she instructs Nakayami to start Akyuki's training drill. Training begins with Akyuki having to stamp maximum letters in minimum time. The drill makes Akyuki exhausted and he does not even understand the nature of the drill, but he has to do what is said. At one stage, he also inquires Nakayami about this useless drill. Nakayami, in a bizarre mode, replies that the drill is enough to keep him alive on the ship. Back at Senten Island, Haru and Furuichi come across their school fellow Shidara, but they feel disheartened to know Shidara has lost her entire family in the last airstrike and is now heartbroken. On Zanbani, Akyuki, after some training, goes back to Tenshin and she inquires him the same question, but Akyuki still remains unaware of Zam's purpose in life. Akyuki is sent back for more training in stamping the letters. After some days, another postal ship of refugees shows up near Zanbani. A ship comes out to be of Nakayami's friends from her homeland. As soon as Nakayami comes to know of their presence, she immediately takes off on her plane to meet the ship's captain Zagend. Zagend's ship is dropping anchor and Nakayami requests Ishu to let her go and meet him, but she denies it. Both Ishu and Nakayami engage in a dispute, and it ends up with Ishu informing Nakayami that she can leave the ship and join her comrades whenever she wants. That night, Akyuki with Nakayami appears in front of Tenshin again. Tenshin inquires the same old question, but this time Akyuki replies Zam want to live in peace with the support of his friends. Akyuki's answer satisfies Tenshin, and she finally entrusts Akyuki to Nakayami. On Senten Island, one of the military officers, Prois Sukaki, visits Akyuki's father, Ryuzu, and offers him to join the anti-human form research lab of Senten Island. Ryuzu, without giving a second thought, immediately refuses. However, he rethinks his decision when Prois mentions that she is sent by Commander Kakisu, whom he saved years ago in the Barador War. As she converses with her friends from the refugee airship, the remainder of Nakayami's crew wonders if she will leave the ship and join Zagend. At the anti-human form research lab on Senten Island, Kanba demonstrates to Kakisu a Hiruko endosymbiont experiment being conducted on Sagara, but Kakisu rushes out in disgust. Ishu tells Akyuki that when Nakayami initially boarded the airship, she used to cry all the time. Nakayami talks to her friends, and after she finishes talking, Zagend informs Ishu that Nakayami will eventually go back to her native country. Nakayami joins Zanbani again with no aim of leaving it ever again. On Senten Island, Haru and Furuichi, while roaming in the destroyed buildings in the streets, come across Shidara. Shidara, out of despair, transforms into a human form and runs rampant, forcing Kakisu to capture and kill her by himself. Nakayami goes out to hunt a human form, and Ishu instructs Akyuki to accompany her in the task, but Nakayami leaves the ship on her own. Akushiba pushes Akyuki off the ship, making Nakayami rescue him and take him alongside. Both reach the site, where they come to see a human form half turned into stone. As soon as human form suspects Nakami's presence around itself, it immediately attacks her. However, Nakami jumps over it and by releasing multiple pins, makes a hole from where she comes to see the human form's inner and knows that it is liquefying itself. Before Nakami collects the sample, human form attacks her. Stone also begins climbing on her and remains helpless to save herself. Human form also attacks Akyuki and tears its thread holding Zan's appearance. As soon as the thread breaks, Akyuki's hand takes exam form, but this time Akyuki seems to have control of the hand. He turns the hand into a sharp blade and attacks human form to ultimately kill it and convert it into the complete stone. Nakami is saved, but she does not seem happy since she needs to collect a human form sample, but Akyuki just killed it. Nakami then touches the stone on Akyuki's hand and transforms his hand back to its normal human hand. After waiting for a long, Haru finally receives a letter from Akyuki, much to her delight. That night, Ryuzu reveals to Fusa that he used to work as a medical officer for Northern government in the past. Back then, he was also indulging in the Northern experiment of converting weak soldiers into human form in the name of anti-human form research. Furuichi and Haru, who have decided to join Senten Island Free Zone military, are now undergoing military tests as pilots of ASP suits. Free Zone after human form emergence is renamed as East Autonomous. The military of East Autonomous is now teaching newly recruits in order to prepare them for future human form emergence. Just when training is happening in Senten Island, anti-human form research lab test Zand activates and becomes out of control. Kakasu orders to stop Test Zand in the lab by opening all the barriers. But to Kakasu's dismay, Test Zand breaks all restraining barriers and shows its appearance on the ground as a giant beast human form. The Test Zand is engaged in battle by Haru, Furuichi, and their squadron, but before they can restrain it, Haru discovers that human form is pregnant. Military ASP suit trainees attack Test Zand and try to stop it, but it repels every attack. Haru tries to stop Furuichi from attacking Test Zand, but Furuichi does not listen to her and releases an ultimate attack to convert Test Zand into a stone. When Akyuki reads Haru's letter, he finds out that Haru will be waiting for him at the island's Sumabara Pass. Nakami agrees to let him travel there as long as he brings a pet Nekomata with him. However, he is unaware that the Nekomata is wearing a monitoring device. Kakasu gives the order for Haru and Furuichi to travel to Sumabara Pass with their squadron in order to find a missing squadron. While traveling to Sumabara Pass, Akyuki lands in the mountains where he comes across a human form but gets saved by Kyo and Zuizo. They inform him that since the air raid 1 month ago, an increasing number of people have started transforming into human form. After becoming concerned for Akyuki, Nakami does not restrain and departs the airship to search the mountains for Akyuki. In order to continue on his way to Sumabara Pass, Akyuki leaves the Nekomata with Kyo and Zuizo. At Sumabara Pass, Haru and Furuichi find one of the lost squadron's suits in a tunnel, but the pilot is changed into a human form. On a bridge outside the tunnel, Akyuki runs into Haru, but their reunion is cut short by a human form attack, and Akyuki reveals his right arm while fighting the human form. After learning that he turned into a Zammed, furious Furuichi approaches him and tries to kill him, but an unidentified Zam steps in and lets Akyuki run. At the run, he gets saved by Kyo and Zuizo. Later, Nakami discovers exhausted Akyuki at the harbor, and before bidding them farewell thanks Kyo and Zuizo for their assistance. Meantime, Furuichi reveals on Kakasu that Akyuki is Zammed. As Zanbani's crew gets ready to take off, Nakami arrives at the moment with Akyuki and safely aboard him. Raigyo Tsunemata, the Zam that saved Akyuki at the bridge aboard at Zanbani after the absence of 2 long years. Everyone on the ship pleasantly welcomes him, but Raigyo's presence irritates Akyuki since he has been ignored because of him. Meantime, in the research lab, Kanba and Kakasu look at the green soulstone recently revived from the tunnel, which they are planning to use for future Haruko endosymbiont experiments. After greeting and giving everyone gifts of their like, Raigyo visits Nakami and informs her that her village in the lead of Kyujirika is planning to take the Holy Land from Northern government back. In the meantime, Haru is suggested to forget about Akyuki and her past to focus on military training. As Zanbani is on its way, a northern human form drop ship appears near it. Raigyo takes Akyuki to the top of the ship and wants him to show the talent Haruko has given to him in the form of Zammed. Akyuki then removes his bandage, reveals his Zammed hand, and gets ready to battle the human form. Before Akyuki attacks the human form, Nakami is already out on her beat kayak in order to save the human form from killing and restore its original form. She shoots at the human form, but her target fails to make her follow it. Akyuki runs and lands over the human form, but before he kills it, Nakami hands him a seed and pledges to embed this seed inside the human form's body rather than killing it. Following the order, Akyuki embeds the seed inside human form. and in no time the human form blows itself and disassembles. After human form eliminates, Nakimi saves Akyuki from falling and reveals to him that if she is pure U22 seed, she can restore human form's original form completely. Soon Shu comes to know the earlier human form was just a spy, and there are 4 more dropships nearby coming to assault Zanbani. In order to battle with the human forms just released from the dropships, Raigyo also transforms himself into Zamd. He assaults human forms with water attacks and cuts them into 2 pieces. When things are under control, Dropship surprisingly assaults Zanbani with a bunch of human forms. The sudden attack initially startled Ishu, but she remains calm and along with attacks human forms to stop them from entering the ship. Meantime, Raigyo and Akyuki fight the flying human forms, progressively coming to attack the ship and take both Zams. Akyuki, with his Zam hand, grabs human form's ring and breaks it, resulting in it falling on the ship and damaging it. While fighting with the human forms that just landed on Zanbani, gets injured, making Ishu continue to fire at them and kill them. After killing all the human forms landed on the ship, Ishu encounters the human form's controller and furious kills her. The battle ends, but the fight damaged the ship, resulting in it landing on abandoned land. While the others are repairing the ship, the black soul of stone human forms makes Nakimi realize her need to go back to her homeland, Tessek village. When Akyuki comes to know about Nakimi's departure, he also decides to go with the aim of reaching Senten Island one day. Nakimi takes leave from Ishu, and both Nakimi and Akyuki take off on their new journey at Tessek village. On Senten Island, Haru visits Furuichi at his home, where she comes to know Furuichi has also become Zamd. When Akyuki and Nakimi arrive at Senten Island, he contacts Haru's place, but from Midori he learns that Haru joined the army. Midori contacts Haru and informs her about Akyuki's coming back to Senten Island. However, Haru's call is traced by police, and when Kakasu comes to know about Akyuki's presence on Senten Island, he orders to capture him alive. When Akyuki pays Ryuzu a visit at the clinic and reveals his Hiruko, he is shocked to learn that his father has been keeping Nazuna in the hospital. Haru also rushes to meet Akyuki at the War Memorial Monument, but despite her unwillingness, she doesn't want him to be here on Senten Island since the military will catch him now. When Haru is overwhelmed to finally see Akyuki again, Furuichi approaches there with Midori's help, who informs him about Akyuki's coming back. Furuichi only comes to kill Akyuki because he loves Haru, but Haru never loves him and prefers Akyuki over him. Furuichi's hatred towards Akyuki forced him to produce Haruko inside himself in order to compete with Akyuki. Furuichi's Haruko resonates with hatred and he transforms into Haruko's final stage. Furuichi's hatred feeds Haruko, causing him to expand and evolve into an evil being. Nakimi tries to help Furuichi, but he restrains and throws her away. When Furuichi moves forward to kill Nakimi, Akyuki does not hold back and comes with his Zam hand to stop him. But to his dismay, Akyuki fails to stop him. Instead, Furuichi strangles him with his extended body. When Haru tries to stop Furuichi's madness, he encloses her inside his body. It infuriates Akyuki and he attacks Furuichi with Zam hand blade, but the attack does not harm Furuichi. Furuichi instead captures Akyuki and strangles him in an effort to kill him. Akyuki does not take Furuichi's torture anymore and screams in pain, resulting in the development of Zam's face mask. Akyuki soon completely transforms into Zamd and frees himself. To free Haru, who is trapped inside Furuichi, Akyuki punches Furuichi with full strength. But when Furuichi's hatred stops him from turning into stone, Nakimi inserts the seed inside Furuichi and disassembles it to change back into the human form. Just then, the military arrives and begins bombarding Akyuki, making him fall to the ground. Kakasu arrests Haru and Furuichi. However, Nakimi hides from the military. When Nakimi does not understand what to do, Akyuki, with Zam powers, contacts Nakimi in her mind and asks her to run for her life. While Nakimi is on the run, Akyuki gets up and by taking Kakasu hostage, he himself runs away. After running, he leaves Kakasu and goes to meet Nakimi, but on the way, he gets attacked by the military again and falls down into the river. Meantime, Furuichi escapes from the prison wagon and with his Zammed hand, cuts off his head to run from this anxious world and die in peace. When Akyuki wakes up, he finds himself being rescued by slave traders, but at this point, he has Zammed mask permanently attached on his face and has lost memory. As a punishment, Kakasu sends Haru to a solitary room. Nakimi, on the run, ends up in a village where her kayak is out of oil, and she has to stay in an inn until the next oil truck arrives. During her stay in the village, Nakimi comes across an orphan Tessek child, Yongo, who is running after the steel. When Nakimi approaches him, it reveals to her that Yongo has Haruko in his hand and is Zammed. Nakimi helps him with his Zammed hand and makes him promise not to use Zammed hand again. Later in the day, when some thugs catch Yongo, Nakimi saves him by trading her kayak with them. The following day, when Nakayami leaves for Tesek village, Yongo pledges to accompany her and Nakayami agrees to take him alongside. Nakayami and Yongo keep on their journey to Tesek village. Meantime, Kakasu enslaves white-haired Rukan boy Azami and later interrogates him to find their purpose behind creating Zams. While Azami is in custody, he, with his powers, contacts Haru and informs her about Midori, who is currently in military training and is in danger. He also pledges Haru to lead Zam to the place of the Haruko's advent. Elsewhere, a mysterious black soul, Kage, who appears before Akyuki as his friend, persuades an old lady Sumako to buy Akyuki as her slave. Akyuki, with lost memories, continues living with Sumako and Kage. Meantime, on Senten Island, Tsukaki purposely leaves a key inside Haru's prison with the intention of helping her escape out of pity. After traveling for a long time, Nakayami and Yongo finally arrive at Tesek village, where they are welcomed by Nakayami's younger sister and the village chief Kyujirika. After 10 years of absence, villagers welcome Nakayami. After running from the military, Haru visits Ryuzo, where she communicates with Azami through unconscious Nazuna, and then departs to find Akyuki herself and brings Zam to Haruko's advent. She also tries to convince Midori to stay away from the military, but Midori denies obeying her. At Tesek village, Nakayami, while talking to Kyujirika, stays in despair when she comes to know that Kyujirika purposely transforms herself into Zam and implant Haruko into herself. In addition, Kyujirika intends to wage war against Northern Government Army. Nakayami denies supporting Kyujirika in her plan and believes the only place she should now go is Quickening Chamber. Elsewhere, Haru hires a beat kayak and goes to find Akyuki on her own. At Sumako's place, despite Kage's purge to remind Akyuki of his name, when Akyuki chooses to jump off the water tower, Haru reaches there on time and saves him. Haru, by calling Akyuki's name, reminds him of his name and the rest of the memories he had lost. Akyuki's Zand mask vanishes itself, and Akyuki warmly greets Haru after a long time. As soon as Akyuki has his memory back, Kage also vanishes. Haru and Akyuki then say Sumako farewell to finally depart on their way to reach Haruko's advent Quickening Chamber. Azami, through Mizume, informs Ryuzo of Midori's involvement in the Haruko Endosymbiont experiment, where Green Soul Stone is used as a catalyst, much to Ryuzo's shock. When Nakayami leaves the village, she witnesses Northern Government Army ships coming to attack her village. She intends to go back and rescue her people, but Yongo stops her since he does not want her to die and leave him alone in this world again. In the main sanctuary, Kyujirika consumes a black soul stone to become an all-powerful Zamd, and she kills all the warriors by herself. In the meantime, Haru and Akyuki are looking for the Quickening Chamber's entrance. Haru also handovers Akyuki an antidote his father has created for him. At the time Haru and Akyuki are talking, a cloaked guy, Shiroza, approaches them. Shiroza informs them that he will help find Quickening Chamber's entrance and has been waiting for Zam return for long. At the research lab, when Combat is distracted because of Azami's words and wishes to have extra time to finish the experiment on Midori, Kakasu agrees to leave Azami so Combat can focus on the work. When Kakasu visits Azami, Azami reminds Kakasu of his mother's death, which enrages him as well as makes him overwhelmed. Meantime, the commander of Senten Island brings Ryuzo and Midori's father, Jinichiro, to the research facility so they can save Midori. When they sneak into the lab, Ryuzo gets dismayed to find Azami dead, while Jinichiro remains in despair to learn that Midori is missing. Elsewhere, Ishu and Raigyo prepare their assault on the Diamond Tower in order to eliminate Hirukan Emperor preserved there. At the same time, Akyuki and Haru, along with Shiroza, continue their exploration of the Quickening Chamber. To continue their assault on the Diamond Tower, Ishu and Raigyo now have to pass through the Torotoj Gate. At the military quarter, when Jinichiro and the commander of Senten Island threaten to kill Sakaki for not revealing Midori's location, they are both captured by the military and taken into custody. In the Quickening Chamber, Akyuki and Haru witness a newborn sacrifice as a Rukan cult for the selected Zamd, which deeply distresses the two. At the War Memorial, Ryuzo runs across Kakasu and wants him to give Midori back to her father, but when he denies it, both come across a fight which results in Ryuzo losing his one eye and Kakasu's death. Elsewhere, the crazy scientist manages finally turn Midori into human form. Nakayami and Yongo discover the Zagan ship while heading towards Quickening Chambers and join them. Nakayami contacts Zanbani and comes to know of Ishu and Raigyo's assault on Diamond Tower. Meantime, Ishu and Raigyo are about to make their final push into the chamber at the Diamond Tower's top. When Southern airships start to raid the Quickening Chamber, Shiroza destroys the surroundings from inside the Diamond Tower, launching several laser beams with the energy of exiled Rukan souls. Akyuki and Haru escape the raid by flying on the beak kayak. Inside the tower, Raigyo is shot and hurt, and a grenade forces the ceiling to fall in. He uses his arm to prevent Ishu from being crushed. Ishu gives him a kiss and she crosses safely, but Ryagyo becomes crushed under the roof. Inside the tower, Ryagyo and Ishu sacrifice themselves in an effort to destroy the Diamond Tower and eliminate Hirukan Emperor. To put an end to the conflict over the chamber, Nakimi and Yongo also get out of the Tessic airship and proceed there. Despite Ishu's effort to destroy Diamond Tower, the Hirukan Emperor trapped there successfully awakens. The Hirukan Emperor descends from the Diamond Tower's top and completely darkens the sky. Haru runs into Midori in human form and tries to reason with her sister but ends up being eaten by her. Despite being upset by this, Akyuki only activates his mask and one arm before slowly turning to stone. When Nakimi comes on the scene, she confronts Midori and exhorts her to battle the Haruko she harbors. Nakimi helps Midori overcome her sadness and encourages Akyuki to face the situation and return to his senses. Akyuki finally gets over grief and completely transforms into Zamd. He then inserts his father's given antidote into Midori's human form and brings her back to her normal form. Haru, carrying Midori, leaves Akyuki as Zamd behind with the belief to meet him again. In the end, Lady Senova calls Nakimi while Akyuki, as fully developed Zamd, has yet to battle Hirukan Emperor, who is currently awakened. After a long period, Nakimi talks with Lady Senova, and she apologizes to her for leaving her teachings long ago. Hirukan Emperor makes the sky dark and produces rain, which turns people into stone coming into contact with it. Running to save his life, the mad scientist turns to stone and dies. Lady Senova reaches Nakimi's mind, and it reveals to her that she was the one who created Hirukan Emperor long ago. In the quickening chamber, she was considered impure, and other monks threw her out of it. Lady Senova created all Zams and intended to gather them to stop Hirukan Emperor and purify the quickening chamber to bring peace to the world. Nakimi wishes to live peacefully, even with impure souls, and her words complete her training with Lady Senova. Meanwhile, Akyuki fights the Haruko Emperor in an attempt to defeat him but fails. Lady Senova then merges herself into Mother Haruko. Lady Senova as Mother Haruko and Nakimi return to the quickening chamber again. Nakimi declares to empty the quickening chamber and seal it forever. She says her goodbyes to Yongo, who is already present in the chamber, and seals herself inside. Akyuki understands Hirukan Emperor and battles with it. He enters Hirukan's soul and defeats it by giving it his name, not caring that doing this will make him forget his name. After sacrificing his name, Akyuki defeats Hirukan Emperor but is now nameless again and has his face permanently covered with Zamd mask. Nakimi has trapped herself inside the quickening chamber for thousands of years to return the sky its brightness and save those who were turning to stone because of the Hirukan Emperor developed rain. When Yongo realizes Nakimi will never return, he refuses to accept her fate and try to open the chamber. Akyuki, who lost his memories, falls beside Yongo from the sky and, on Yongo's pledge, also tries to open the chamber, but they both fail to open the chamber. Akyuki's effort takes everything from him, and he turns into stone. However, with Hirukan Emperor's defeat, the purpose of Zam's birth finally brings to an end. After 9 years, Akyuki's stone statue is yet remembered by Haru as well as Zanbani. Zanbani crew gets back to work and distributes letters again to spread smiles. Nakimi and Akyuki's sacrifice brings peace to the world. To reunite with the love of his life, Haru Akyuki re-wakes one day. The end. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more amazing recaps.